Coming up next on SportsCenter, put up your Dukes.
They've punched us in the mouth a couple of times, and we want to react to that. We don't want that to happen again.
The two NFL heavyweights go at it today. Boomer has the final word before the bell rings. Hammer and Hank tells us that the Chargers had the means for a win in Kansas City. A day of cliffhangers in college football. The Illini had the Lions backed into a corner, while Georgia puts the tie in Tiger. And a monster night in the NBA as the Monster Mash does it all against the Bulls. So grab your coffee and a donut and dunk it. SportsCenter's next. Blast from the past. Good morning again, everyone. Welcome to the Sunday morning edition of SportsCenter. I'm Robin Roberts. Chris Berman is back by my side. Boy,
were you lonely?
I was very lonely out here without it. So something huge must be going on today.
You know what? I mean, very rarely, Rob, the schedule comes out in the spring. They go to training camp in the summer. The NFL, you circle a couple of games, and then half the times it doesn't work out that way. Not this year. Not this year. You circle this Week 11 game between the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers in the spring, in the summer, and guess what? It's been circled all year long, and here it is. 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock on the West Coast. 8-1 Cowboys, the last team with such a fine record in the NFL, against the 7-2 San Francisco 49ers. The team of the 90s, the Cowboys, against the team of the 80s. So close, but can they catch up? Of course, I was out in San Francisco this week, always a rough assignment, and the 49ers, they're eyeing this thing. I know some of them are trying to downplay it just a little bit. It's only mid-November. They expect to see them again in January, but yet, there's no getting around it. This just in. This is big. The 49ers come into this year's game of the century, the healthiest they've been all season. With Harris Barton back at right tackle last week, their depleted offensive line was back at 4/5 strength and sure showed it in the pocket. For the first time in their Super Bowl run, the Cowboys are the ones hurting. Eric Williams, perhaps the best tackle in football, gone for the season. And wide receiver Alvin Harper suffered football and auto injuries this week. Harper flat out killed the 49ers in the last 2 NFC Championship games with his big plays. And if he can't leap as he usually does, the smaller San Francisco secondary catches a real break.
I may be a little bit more reluctant to make some throws that I've made to Alvin just because I know his ability to go up and go after the football. You know, whereas no fault of Kevin's, he just doesn't have the physical skills of what Alvin does.
No matter how many Pro Bowl offensive players there are in this game, Emmitt Smith still looms most important. If the best players save it for the biggest games, then the 49ers will readily admit Emmitt is the best. In the 2 title games and a regular season affair last season, all won by Dallas, Emmitt delivered rushing yards, receiving yards, and touchdowns, as in 294 yards on the ground, another 174 through the air, for a total of almost 500 yards and 5 TDs.
You can make all the changes in the world. On that particular day that you play, if you don't play your best, you're going to get beat. And if we play our best, they going to get beat. And, you know, if we don't play our best and they play their best, we going to get beat. That's just the way it is.
How can you slow them down?
Fierce attitude. You have to make up your mind. We're going to stop this guy. You have to shut down running lanes, and you have to hit him. You have to get hits on him. And we have to decide that we want this game.
If Dallas is able to just run the ball on us as they have in the past, it doesn't make any difference who's covering what receiver. I mean, they'll control the ball game.
The marquee matchups make a football fan drool. Deion Sanders guarding Michael Irvin, just to name one. Old 49er Charles Haley has been outstanding this year. He'll try to lay the wood to Steve Young, whose last 4 games have been as good as he's ever been. 69 of 89, 841 yards, 7 TDs, only 1 interception.
I guess I'm just not deep enough to think about all the psychological ramifications. I just feel like a win this week would put our team in a great position.
Well, Steve Young, certainly. I mean, I don't want to say it, it's only mid-November, but yet, for him to win a game of this magnitude, who knows what that will do for him and for the whole team. Not that they doubt him, Robin, but yet a big game. If he delivers against Dallas, that could put him in the stratosphere.
Well, being out in San Francisco, as you said, tough assignment. Psychologically, what does this game mean for the Niners?
I think a lot more to the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, Dallas, if they lose it, they still only have the 2 losses. They've beaten them the last 3 times. But for San Francisco, if they've made all these changes, and they've done all these things, and it still doesn't work, and they don't play a good game against the Dallas Cowboys and the 49ers don't, then they'll wonder, all these changes, are we good enough? They really got to play a sharp effort today. We'll have plenty. We're all over the map. Game day begins 15 minutes early here on ESPN from 11:45 to 12:45. all over the map on this game. We'll hear more from Steve Young. Michael Irvin, season of adjustment. We'll hear from all the principals. And, oh, by the way, there's so many big games today. Randall Cunningham and the Eagles against the Browns. Is this the year for Randall? Usually is when he is home. And, of course, San Diego, Kansas City.
Lightning bolt.
Huge. Biggest game of the year in the AFC.
Well, you're going to be busy on game day. No wonder you're starting early.
The Schmitz started working at 8:30 in the morning.
Good being with you, my friend. You know that. Maybe they're not as big as the boys in the Niners, but David Robinson and Patrick Ewing put on quite a show last night in San Antonio. The Admiral, though, was clearly in command. Highlights in a moment. Well, Terry Bowden still hasn't lost a game as head coach of the Auburn Tigers, but his winning streak came to an end last night at 20. That and more when we come back.
Walter Payton puts it on pasta. Payne Stewart, blackened salmon. Dan Marino, wings. So what do you put it on?
Yow!
Tabasco.
The third baseman? That's my son. I'd like him to grow up in his own home. My friends gave me some tips on how much I can afford to spend, but it didn't sound right to me. I may have to wait till my boy makes it big in the majors, and then he can buy the house. Or maybe not.
At Fannie Mae, we're the nation's largest source of funds for mortgage lenders. Call us for a free guide to get you started on the path to home ownership.
The right start. The right perks. The right room. The right result. The right reward. The right way. The Wyndham way. Wyndham Hotels and Resorts. And now use the American Express card for 2 nights and get a weekend night free.
Hey, way down in LaBelle, Florida, Ace is the place. Because we're ready to help.
With incredible season savings, like this Black & Decker 3/8-inch variable speed reversible drill for $24.99.
Hey, Ace is the place with the helpful hardware phone.
The issue is fleet safety. Liberty Mutual is the only insurer to operate its own driver-trainer facility, where one customer learned new ways to drive down accidents by 70%. Can your company use a crash course? Liberty Mutual, facing the issues that face our customers.
Some exciting college football games on Saturday. Penn State and Illinois, a minute left. The line's down by 3. They're driving. Brian Mill runs it in for his third of the day. Penn State comes from behind to win and remain undefeated 35-21. To the SEC, Georgia and Auburn, 13 ticks left. Score tied 23-all. The ball on the 45. Matt Hawkins had a PAT blocked earlier. It's not blocked, but it's no good from 42 yards out. Auburn ties Georgia. The 20-game winning streak is over. Bama and Mississippi State, 56 seconds left. Mississippi State up by 3 until Dennis Riddle goes in. Alabama comes back to win 29-25. And hot off the press, the new coaches poll released a short time ago. With Nebraska's 28-12 win over Iowa State, they stay on top, but the Huskers' margin over Penn State has narrowed from 27 points last week to 21 this week. Let's hoop it up. NBA action from last night. The Mavs and the Bulls. Jamal Mashburn with a hot hand. He takes Scottie Pippen for 2 of his team record 50 points on the night. Jason Kidd, he's no kid. To Jimmy Jackson, a career best 38 for Jimmy. But it was Mashburn who led the Mavs. Game was to OT. Dallas held on to win. Knicks and Spurs. Ewing and the Admiral. Watch Ewing save the ball between Robinson's legs to Charles Smith. But David had the last word. Avery Johnson on the pass. Robinson the alley-oop. Spurs win big. He had 35 points, 13 boards. Dennis Rodman was granted an indefinite leave of absence. Magic and Sixers, Shaq Diesel showing off his passing skills. He had 6 assists to go along with his 28 points and 12 rebounds. Here are the rest of Saturday's NBA results. Auto racing, as shown earlier here on ESPN, the final race of the Formula One season, the Grand Prix of Australia. Nigel Mansell with the 31st career of his victory of his career, but Michael Schumacher, the big winner today, claiming the Formula One driving championship. And right after NFL Game Day, NASCAR will run its final race of the season. Veteran Greg Sachs is on the pole with a track record at Atlanta Motor Speedway just shy of 186 miles per hour. It is about to be hammer time. Hank Goldberg believes Junior Seau will make Joe Montana Seau today at Arrowhead. That and much more when we come back.
Just a few years ago, my favorite pastime was hanging off a sheer cliff at 2,500 feet. And then she came. We think differently about a lot of things now, especially about risks.
People change. Is it an investment that changes over time, too? Yes, LifePath Mutual Funds.
College for her, retirement for us. What were we doing to prepare? What most people do, putting it off. Then we heard about LifePath.
Choose from 5 funds designed for specific investment time periods. The funds invest more aggressively early on, then more conservatively as time passes. Call 1-800-WELLS-INVEST for a free brochure and prospectus. One simple call that can make the difference down the road.
Her future's the only thing that really matters.
LifePath, available through Wells Fargo Securities at the frontier of financial innovation. Sponsored and distributed by Stevens Incorporated. Call 1-800-WELLS-INVEST.
Mike Tirico and Tom Jackson here at Radio Shack to kick off ESPN's NFL Pro Bowl sweepstakes.
To enter, drop by any Radio Shack, vote your favorite players into the NFL Pro Bowl, and you could win a trip to see the game in Hawaii or great Radio Shack prizes.
Here comes a voter now. She cuts left. She's racing towards the ballot box. Uh-oh.
I hope you're voting for me.
Vote for you? You couldn't sack a bag of groceries.
Whoa! ESPN's NFL Pro Bowl sweepstakes. Enter at Radio Shack.
Oh, yeah, that band. A number of interesting matchups in Week 11. Let's take a look at Sunday's numbers. How the Hammer did last week. Hank's winning record comes to an end. Winning streak comes to an end, but he still got that winning record going. Still above the Mendoza line for the year. And Hank Goldberg is back with us again this morning. A little number crunching, not that much time. Can't talk about the Friends.
Nah, it was 2 and 3. They dumped me. Last week, Warren Moon ripped the New Orleans secondary for 420 yards, including 20 completions to wide receivers. Expect the same from Jeff George and the Falcons' red gun. Let's get trendy. Atlanta keeps the streak going with an outright win. Speaking of streaks, Natron Means 5 straight 100-yard games going against the Kansas City defense that's giving up 161 yards per game on the ground. And the best player on the field is not Joe Montana. Let's take a look at him. It's Junior Seau. And he and his front four will shut the Chiefs down. More streaking with San Diego. Take the points. The Browns' offense is counterfeit. They average 97 yards rushing. Their passing game's injured. Mark Rippon goes today. Not so with the Eagles. Their defense dominates anyway. Another streak. Randall unbeaten in his last 20 at home. Last loss, by the way. Mark Rippon beat him in a playoff game. The Eagle flies today. Now, the Cowboys' quickness on defense and their ability to tackle in the open field takes away that West Coast offense. That's why I like the Cowboys in this game. And one last streak. Last year, the Bills were punished by 227 yards from the Steelers. The Steelers are going to do it again to them on Monday night. They're 5-0 under Bill Cowher Monday night.
Very quick, Aikman's thumb.
Yeah, Aikman hurt his thumb in practice on Friday. It swelled up yesterday. There hopefully goes today. All bets are off if he doesn't.
Ooh, bets are off. All right, Hank. Enjoy the games. I know that you will. Football fans will certainly enjoy watching ESPN tonight. Boomer, TJ, and I will bring you all the highlights at 7 p.m. Eastern on NFL Prime Time with post-game analysis and interviews from Candlestick on the Cowboys-Niners matchup and the Bucks and Lions at the Silverdome. Following the game, it is Sports Center. Well, enjoy the remainder of your Sunday Sports Day, everyone. I am Robin Roberts. Chris Berman and company are ready to kick off your football Sunday. A lot to talk about in Week 11, and they'll talk about it next on NFL Game Day coming at you next. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
The Niners enjoy and Cowboys rekindle their rivalry. In the biggest game of the season, which big name will make the big play? And which team will come away with bragging rights?
We get them this fourth time. It's going to be kind of hard for them to beat us after that. That's right. I live to play games like this. I love to play games like this.
This Cowboys receiver can boast about his numbers as he continues tallying TDs. This Niners quarterback leads the most potent offense in the league. Today in Kansas City, this former Niner has his new team within striking distance. But the Chargers quarterback is back and has San Diego still running atop the AFC West. This Lions back is running away with the rushing title. The Browns visit the Eagles, where Philly's main offender has nicked all the naysayers, while his offense continues to catch fire. But Cleveland is trying to return to glory. We'll have all the nastiness next on NFL Game Day. Yes, I am. I'm Chris Berman. I think I am. Welcome to Week 11 of NFL Game Day, a week unlike any other. The game of the season. And of the 14 teams with winning records in the NFL, 12 of them are playing each other, all revved up with no place to go except watch football. Tom Jackson, ESPN, Chris Mortensen, Joe Theismann will join us shortly. We have a gang of thousands. We got plenty to talk about now. We're on a tad early this morning, so we get the full hour of Game Day and then make way to the NASCAR season finale. The Hooters 500, they're stacked up in Atlanta. We'll have live coverage beginning at 12:45 Eastern Time. And on a day of great football, you can't top this one here on ESPN at 8 Eastern, 5 out west. Barry Sanders, NFL rushing leader, perhaps on a record single-season pace, leads the Detroit Lions at home against, you just can't top this team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike Patrick, Joe Theismann, we'll hear from shortly. Mark Malone on the call after what promises to be a rockin' NFL primetime. As you may know, the Buccaneers are for sale. Tom, can you let me a quarter? I think we can make a deal there. This one was huge when the schedule came out in the spring, and it's huger today. The game of the season. 8-1 Dallas and 7-2 San Francisco. We delve into this one like jackals attacking fresh meat. The plot is simple. Dallas, the champs, the team of the 90s, they've supplanted the team of the 80s, the 49ers, by beating them 3 times in the last 2 seasons, including, of course, the last 2 NFC title games. Have the 49ers closed the gap, or is Dallas in the post-Jimmy Johnson era even a better football team? 1 month ago, San Francisco was in big-time trouble, but now Dallas, except for the Emmitt Smith shoulder injury last year, really for the first time, they've had health problems in their 2.5-year run. So, Tommy, this is one of the reasons that I think onus really on San Francisco. They've got to come up big. Dallas may be limping a bit.
I don't think anybody can fool themselves about the importance of this game, especially for the San Francisco 49ers. The Dallas Cowboys coming off of a very physical Monday night game against the Giants. They're the travel team this weekend, working without the best offensive tackle in football, Eric Williams, and Novacek and Harper not at 100%. If they cannot beat the Cowboys in this situation, they can't beat them. It's a no-brainer. About why I'll pass it to you, Phil.
Ralph started getting on me, but I'm sitting in this chair. It's Joe's chair, and I definitely disagree.
Naturally.
Because I've talked to 49er players and coaches, and they feel like in a couple weeks, they're going to be playing their best football. The defense with all those free agents is coming together, and when Richard Dent comes back in a couple weeks, a great pass rusher always makes the defensive better, and the offensive line continues to get healthy. They'll be playing their best in a couple weeks, too.
But, Phil, if the 49ers do win today, hey, it's going to excite the rest of the NFC because Philadelphia and Minnesota have picked up the scent. There could be 4 teams today with an 8-2 record, and Minnesota with a very favorable schedule finished the year against the 49ers in Minnesota, which means they want home field advantage, Chris.
So it's strange bedfellows here. Minnesota, Philly, definitely rooting for San Francisco. Remember, Philly's beaten San Francisco, and Philly plays Dallas again. So there's lots of plots here. You know, for Barry Switzer, I think that, yes, this is his first huge game, but it's not that big for him. Bigger for the 49ers, huge for Steve Young. We'll hear from him later in Game Day. We'll hear from all the participants. But now you've heard from us here. Now, out to the Bay Area. And fresh from a Bay Area breakfast of sourdough muffins and scones, no doubt, and no doubt a cappuccino or maybe a latte, let's head out to our Leslie Visser in San Francisco. Leslie, you're making us jealous.
Chris, it is beautiful here, and people are still recovering from that rare Swami sighting. You'll have to come back more often. Well, a cautionary note for the Cowboys. In practice on Friday, Troy Aikman banged the thumb on his throwing hand on a teammate's helmet. It was so severe that he couldn't grip the ball. He's been treating it ever since. He hopes to be fine by game time. Well, as for the 49ers, they're hoping that a win today will bring back some of that mystique and glamour.
Hey, they've punched us in the mouth a couple of times, and we want to react to that. We don't want that to happen again.
Well, I don't want to put too much on this game, but for Eagles, it would mean a lot.
They seem to be approaching this by saying, hey, it's 1 of 16, and we seem to be approaching this by saying, hey, this is the 1 of 16, and that's not good for us.
What else isn't good for the 49ers? The presence of the league's most devastating runner. But in this game, Emmitt Smith is wary of how many times he'll carry.
I'm not going to carry it 35 times a game. People will say, well, he carried 35 times Monday night, maybe he's going to carry 35 times against the Niners. And no, I don't think that's going to happen. If it happens, it happens. Good for us.
Before this game is over, much will be made of the game plan, which is often devised by the assistant coaches. Well, Barry Switzer, in a moment of glaring self-deprecation, managed to diminish not only himself, but the man who used to run the show.
Assistant coaches are the ones that deserve credit. I don't know how many head coaches out there ought to say that. They don't call. Jimmy Johnson never called an offensive play here. He didn't call defensive plays here.
Well, if the Cowboys make most of the plays today and beat San Francisco for a 4th straight time, could that mentally break the 49ers?
Hey, if we beat them, it'll be a good thing for us. If I don't think they playing it up as much as a lot of the other people are, but if we get them this 4th time, it's going to be kind of hard for them to beat us after that.
As for injuries, 49ers center Bart Oates, who's never missed a game in his career, will play despite hurting his knee in practice on Thursday. However, defensive end Richard Dent will not play. As for the Cowboys, they're on the road to Wellville. Both Jay Novacek and Alvin Harper will play. Well, Chris, that's it from Candlestick. If you hurry, you can maybe get here. The people here are ready to rumble.
Oh, we got that Bristol to San Francisco nonstop revved up right outside the studio, Leslie. It's Lear. Maybe we'll get there. We'll be back to you later in the show. Well, last time we saw the Cowboys, it was Monday night, and everybody was kung fu fighting, and it cost them. Michael Irvin and the Giants' Jarvis Williams, after the last play of the half-that play in which Alvin Harper got hurt. Irvin got fined $12,000 by the league for using his helmet as a weapon right there. Then, of course, safety man James Washington gave new meaning to the phrase focus and click. Picked up a tripod. He's fined $10,000. Cowboy assistant Hubbard Alexander fined $5,000. Williams of the Giants, Jesse Campbell of the Giants, $8,000 each, total of $43,000 in fine doled out by the league. And later in the week, the commissioner fired up a stern memo to each of the 28 clubs saying that they, too, would be fined if their teams didn't toe the line on the field. Coming up later in the show, all you need to know about the boys and the Niners, including Michael Irvin's season of adjustment. Today, he will be facing Deion Sanders, the best cover man in the business. We'll zero in on that matchup. Emmitt Smith, the best back in the business, today bursting through the middle and slugging it out with former teammate Ken Norton Jr. The Cowboys' defense thriving despite his loss. Troy Aikman, news on Troy? No doubt, though, about his big game poise. Steve Young, playing the best he's ever played, but will it be good enough in the biggest game of the year? We'll be back.
We've invested billions to help businesses grow and have financed college educations. We help people improve their homes, start new lives, and provide financial security for millions of families. We also underwrite hopes and dreams. Transamerica, life insurance, consumer and commercial loans.
A bowling ball, a pineapple, a birthday cake, a Nokia cellular phone. One of these objects would make it easier for me to juggle my schedule.
He's a juggler. You're not. Pick up a Nokia cellular phone to help you juggle your schedule. Nokia, largest European cellular phone manufacturer, now in America.
School is your ragtop, favorite hot spot. It's something with hometowns and everyone's class clown. It's always been true. This bus for you.
Just for you.
taste you'll find in no other beer at any price. Beechwood Aged Budweiser.
It's always been true.
Pros wear Russell Athletic because it's made tough. It has to be.
Hey, kid! Hey, you got my lucky jersey.
Yeah?
I got kind of carried away. Can I have it back?
You gotta be kidding.
Hurry, you little pipsqueak. You don't want that.
No!
You want athletic wear that can survive anything? Get Russell Athletic. Get tough.
Who was that kid? I don't know. Let's sign him up.
The Niners, of course, wary of Emmitt Smith. He's chilled them in the last 3 Dallas wins. 5 touchdowns, 468 yards running and catching against him. He looked pretty good Monday night. Just in case you didn't know, in the 90s, Emmitt Smith, 64 touchdowns, Jerry Rice, 62. Andre Rison is the next closest with 54. So Emmitt and Jerry on center stage today. An interesting note. On the opening possessions this year, the Dallas Cowboys are ranked #1 in the NFL in points scored. The Niners' defense is ranked almost dead last in points allowed. So Dallas looking to get out first, as they've done often this year. We're not just in San Francisco today, though, in Motown. Barry Sanders motors on, is paced for a record. In Motown, Philly, Randall back again, proving his doubters wrong. In Kansas City, tough guy Stan Humphries back from another injury. Joe Montana, all he does is win. On the Chargers' heels at the Chiefs at the top of the AFC West. Of course, more on the Cowboys and Niners when they stop Emmitt. Next.
It's time to hear the truth from MCI friends and family customers.
I expected that my bill would go down, and it didn't go down. I have nobody on my calling circle at all, so I'm not seeing any savings.
I expected a lower bill. I didn't get it.
2 out of 3 MCI friends and family basic users spending $25 or more will save more with AT&T True USA Savings. Call 1-800-PIC-ATT.
People dropped out of my circle that I didn't know had dropped out because they weren't happy with what the savings were. So then I'm talking to them on the phone for a long time and spending lots of money that I didn't have to spend.
Get the savings you expect. Switch to AT&T. With True USA Savings, spend $25 a month. We'll subtract 20% off your AT&T bill. Guaranteed.
I really am looking for simplicity and savings.
AT&T is simple. You pick up the phone, you call who you want to, and you get your savings.
Call anyone, anytime, anywhere in the U.S. and save 20% with True USA Savings. Switch today. It's free.
This is a plan that would bring me back to AT&T.
Your true
Mike Tirico and Tom Jackson here at Radio Shack to kick off ESPN's NFL Pro Bowl sweepstakes. To enter, drop by any Radio Shack, vote your favorite players into the NFL Pro Bowl, and you could win a trip to see the game in Hawaii or great Radio Shack prizes. Here comes a voter now. She cuts left. She's racing towards the ballot box. Uh-oh.
I hope you're voting for me.
Vote for you? You couldn't sack a bag of groceries.
Whoa! ESPN's NFL Pro Bowl sweepstakes. Enter at Radio Shack.
Tommy and Phil split wide to the right. 95 blue power trap. Back to the game of the season. The Cowboys and 49ers at the stick. I forgot to play. A little history lesson here. San Francisco became the team of the 80s not only because they won 4 Super Bowls, but also because they stayed ahead of everybody else. Since the start of their glorious run in 1981, only 2 teams beat the 49ers 3 in a row. The Giants from 85 through 86, but they bounced back to the Niners to win 2 Super Bowls before New York won their next one. And the Broncos, but the 49ers get rid of that problem in a big way in Super Bowl 24, Tom. If truth be known, the 49ers could have been the team of the 90s except for one problem. Dallas.
We're talking about a team here in Dallas that jumped way ahead of everybody dramatically. I mean, I think we've got some very talented players, and we did last year. But I don't remember seeing a couple of our great teams that has as much talent as the Dallas Cowboys.
30-20, 26-17, 38-21. 3 times in the past 2 seasons, the Cowboys have won up the 49ers. It's obvious even San Francisco had to play catch-up football.
be a lot of times where I'm going to be isolated on them, and I have to come up and make the play. That's one of the reasons why I'm here.
Why would I be afraid of Ken Norton?
This was the game that they really wanted Deion Sanders for.
But a funny thing happened on the way to this game. Week 2, done in by their old master. Steve Young pounded behind a depleted offensive line. The defense carted off as well. Week 5, 40-8 disaster against the Eagles. The 49ers were suddenly 3 and a bad-looking 2.
Our team was kind of floundering in who we were, what we were supposed to be. We'd heard that we were supposed to go all the way. We heard that we were supposed to be this great team. And then we got humiliated against Philadelphia.
Starting with a gut check in Detroit when they trailed 14-0, the 49ers have been that great team. 4 straight wins, 3 of them laughers. Sure, Dallas is 8-1 to their 7-2, but the Cowboys are hurting while the 49ers are healthy. The pendulum may have swung.
You read the reports out of Dallas, and they say it's a more important game for the 49ers than it is for the Dallas Cowboys. And they're probably right. You know, they've beaten us the last 3 times they've come in here, and they haven't just beaten us, they've beaten us pretty handily. They've been the better team.
The 49ers have been eyeing this game since training camp. But what happens if they don't play particularly well and they lose again to the Cowboys? Then what?
Well, really, I don't think like that. This team is going to play well.
We're not concerned with, you know, the downside right now. I think we're always looking up around here, and you know, you brought the point up, but you know, that's the first I've heard of it. I mean, we feel like we're going to play a good game. A bad game is out of the question.
I feel like I'm on the best team in the NFL right now, and I don't see any reason why we shouldn't go out there and do a great job against Dallas.
Well, as you can see, the confidence level at 4949 Centennial Boulevard in the Candlestick Park today for the 49ers is very much on the up. But keep in mind, there's only 1 starter remaining from the title game of 2 years ago in '92, and that's cornerback Eric Davis. So lots of guys just figuring out how important San Francisco against Dallas really is. Let's join our Joe Theismann, of course, is outside Detroit getting ready for our game tonight. But, Joe, on this ball game, all those changes on the 49er defense, do you think the defense is good enough, if not to stop Dallas, good enough to neutralize the Cowboys this afternoon?
Absolutely, Chris. As a matter of fact, you talk about the changes on the defensive side of the ball. One thing that makes that very interesting is those guys have got short memories. They aren't aware that the Cowboys have basically dominated the 49ers over the last couple of years. What they're looking at is a brand-new football team, a brand-new look. We look at the 49ers as a great offensive team, Young, Rice, Waters. But not too many people have ever talked about their defense in recent years. I think Deion Sanders has absolutely put it perfect. They went out and got Deion Sanders and Richard Dent for one specific reason. They knew they could compete against the rest of the National Football League with everybody else, but they needed the Sanders and the Dents to be able to compete against the Dallas Cowboys. I think finally the San Francisco 49ers have a defense that they feel it matches up very well with the Dallas Cowboy offense, therefore giving them a little bit of a psychological advantage, because that's going to be very important in this game.
Joe, I think you're right. And let's talk about the other side of the ball, this Dallas defense, the best in the NFL last year. And you know what? They're better this year. There's a couple reasons why. Let me show them to you. First, look at Leon Lett at the bottom of the screen. He's taken the place of Tony Casillas inside. Leon Lett, a bigger body, and somebody who can pressure the passer every single game. The other reason, the middle linebacker, Robert Jones, taking Kid Norton's place inside, more aggressive on the run, shooting the gaps, making more plays at the line of scrimmage. San Francisco today will not be able to run the ball against the Dallas Cowboys, and there's 2 reasons why. Speed of the defense and a secondary that's the best tackling secondary in football time.
I think the 49ers, though, have to figure out a way to run the football, and they have to run it in between the tackles. As we take a look back at last year's NFC Championship game, you see the 49ers try to get to the outside with Ricky Waters, and the problems that the speed of the Cowboys secondary and linebacking core present to them. If you cannot run the ball in between the tackles, you're not going to be successful. The key matchup today is Oates, Sapulu, and Dees against Russell Maryland and Leon Lett. So far this season, nobody's been able to block them.
Tommy, you flip that over. You talk about the 49ers confident. Well, I'll tell you what, the Cowboys are very confident with the guts of their offensive line. Stepnoski, Kennard, Newton with Moose Johnson leading the way. Emmitt Smith will have a big game today.
Well, as we pointed out, Emmitt has certainly killed the Niners in the 3 games they've played, almost 500 yards. They got to figure out some of that. Bryant, Young, Stubblefield, some of them, Norton, etc. Whatever they do to neutralize them, go a long way to winning. Of course, we'll have plenty more on this game. We'll hear from Michael Irvin. We'll hear from Steve Young. We'll look at all the principals. We'll have more analysis. But let's shift over to the game of the year in the AFC today. The 7-2 San Diego Chargers at the 6-3 Kansas City Chiefs. After the Lightning Bolt's lightning start, Casey was eyeing this three-game run as a time to pick up ground and maybe pass the Chargers in the AFC West. San Diego, you see, is in the middle of a three-game road swing. Remember, they already lost that first road game to Atlanta last week. Kansas City in the midst of a three-game homestand. They won the first game of that stand last week. In Week 6, the Bolts handled the Chiefs 20-6 at the Murph for their first regular season win against them in the 90s. Natron Means ran for 125 yards while the whole Chiefs team managed a mere 64 rushing. But it's Joe Montana. Big game today. You know what that usually means. Quite a cast of characters. Let's head out to our Andrea Kramer at Arrowhead.
Thank you very much, Chris, and welcome to Arrowhead, where it could be raining here all day. For the San Diego Chargers, their offense has not scored a touchdown in 2 of the last 3 weeks, but they could get a needed jolt from the return of Stan Humphries, who missed last week's game with a dislocated left elbow. The Chargers trainer has built a special brace, which keeps the arm locked at a 30-degree angle. Now, ironically, this could affect some of their audible calls, since this is one of the Chargers' checkoffs, and Humphries can't do that with his left arm. Humphries told me that he's apprehensive about taking that first hit. He just wants to get it over with.
All this was black and blue and purple all the way up through here, and it's all gone now. But basically, you can see where it's rounded compared to an elbow.
How might it hamper you?
Sometimes you only have one hand on the ball when you wish you had both hands because of the elbow itself. Other than that, you know, you got big padding or whatever, and it's something that you might think it would throw you off balance or something, but it really doesn't. I mean, I've thrown the ball as well this week as I've been throwing it, so it's just something that you get used to, and once you get used to it, then you kind of forget about it.
The Chargers won't change their blocking scheme to protect Humphries. What they could use most, though, is a 6th straight 100-yard rushing game from Natron Means to take pressure off of Humphries. And if the Chiefs' defense is vulnerable, it's up the middle.
Once we start going up the middle, the ends are going to have to start pinching down, you know, trying to stop that. And, you know, that allows Stan more time when he's dropped back in the pocket.
At least the Chargers will have center Courtney Hall today, despite a sprained knee. As for the Chiefs, they are without their leading rusher, Marcus Allen, who himself has a sprained knee. He'll be replaced by Greg Hill, making his first NFL start. The Chiefs are also without left tackle John Alt. He's deactivated today. So watch for Kansas City to use a moving pocket sliding right to give Joe Montana some extra time. Chris, the priority is for Montana to get rid of that ball as quickly as possible.
Now, thanks, Andrew. Give Joe time. Joe usually delivers. And let's go to our other Joe. I mean, you guys saw the Chiefs last week. They bounced back from that Buffalo disaster against the Raiders. Are the Chiefs all the way back? They handle the Chargers today, do you think?
Well, you know, Chris, I'm a little bit concerned about the offense and defensive lines of the Chiefs. The Raiders really did a good job on both sides of the ball last week against them in our game. And one of the strengths of the San Diego Chargers is their ability up front with their defensive line and their offensive line to move people off the ball. I certainly think the key in the football game is going to be the Chargers' ability to run the football. But Joe Montana struggles to a degree against man-to-man coverages. He's going up basically against the zone coverage team this week, and I think he'll fare a lot better. Now, Phil, I didn't mean to ignore you in the last segment, but you looked awfully good in my chair.
Hey, thanks, Joe, and I tell you what, you look good down there today, too. And it feels good in your chair, too. But you're right. San Diego's got to run the football today, and the Kansas City Chiefs will try to stop that by putting a lot of men up to the line of scrimmage, just like they did in their first confrontation this year. As you can see, the Kansas City defense, 8 defenders near the line of scrimmage. One of them is a strong safety. The problem with this, it leaves the corners one-on-one. Play action fake keeps them near the line of scrimmage. Stan Humphries with a powerful arm throws it outside. Mark Collins misses the tackle. Tony Martin goes for a 48-yard gain. There's nobody there to help him. The last time these two teams played, Stan Humphries had many opportunities for big plays, and he missed them. Today, I wonder, will that left arm keep him from making those big plays when the opportunity comes?
Another problem for the Kansas City Chiefs on defense, their third down efficiency against the run when they're in their nickel package. They get great pass rush up the field. Neil Smith, Derek Thomas, they have to pinch inside, neutralize that ability of teams to run the ball on them in third down situations.
Well, Tommy, Chargers coach Bobby Ross has challenged his team. He was very upset with them that loss at Atlanta, thought they were very immature off the field, worrying about things like game tickets for family members. He's challenged them, and I tell you what, last night at the team hotel, they had an air of confidence about him, and I was told it's because Stan Humphries had his best week of practices, brace or not, Chris.
Yeah, and you know what? I wouldn't be surprised to see Humphries go up top in the first series, deep to Tony Martin, just to back the Chiefs off before they pound Natron meets. Just a hunch, though. Another hunch. Junior Seau, Defensive Player of the Year, in my opinion, all the great guys that have played this year, the Reggie Whites, etc. I think Junior Seau has been the best. Biggest game of the year for the Chargers. Expect him to come up huge. He had 12 tackles in game one. You didn't even think he was there. This time he could have 15, 16. Junior Seau could be junior and senior Seau this game. He's that good. An unheralded rivalry is renewed when Atlanta visits New Orleans. The 5-4 Falcons off a 1-point win, 3/16 off a 1-point heartbreaking loss at Minnesota. For some reason, home cooking just doesn't do it in this series. The road team 6-1 of the last 7, 14-6 in the last 20. Those Hollywood nights on those Hollywood hills. She was looking so right with a passion that kills. Had to bring in our friend Bob Seeger for this one. Nobody knows how long LA will have two football teams, but the 4-5 Raiders visit the 4-5 Rams at Anaheim for only the second time ever. It'll mark the first non-blackout from the Big A since 1992. Will a sellout help the Rams win back-to-back games for the first time since 91? We'll see later on. Will Mile High Stadium finally help the Broncos? They host the Seahawks in the first of 3 straight home games, Denver's last shot at getting into the playoff picture. To help, they will run a large dose of shotgun offense today. After 4 weeks, Broncos were 0-4. Seattle was 3-1. Now they're both 3-6. Far cry from where they were many of the latter years of Steve Largent, who set most every receiving record in the NFL record books. From our election central, meet Steve Largent, the candidate. And you know all those streaks he had as a receiver? Now he has a streak of 1 straight win for election to U.S. House of Representatives from District 1. He is native Oklahoma. Congratulations, Steve. You got a good one. Coming up, Chicago Steve Walsh. Life's been good to him so far. Still undefeated. Facing Dan Marino with a ground game grounded as he's back to Week 1's aerial show. Up next, Michael Irvin, adjusting to his season of adversity. Stay with us.
Every day, you and your employees struggle against a formidable foe. The dark specter of uncertainty, the ever-present threat of serious illness, of an unforeseen disability, of the end of life itself. Protect your employees with the knowledge you can depend on for long-term disability and other employee benefits. Fortis, a $100 billion world leader providing solid answers for a changing world.
MCI has important news that will have the whole world talking. Now, Friends Around the World gives you the lowest priced international calls to any 3 numbers you choose. And not just for a limited time. You'll get great savings every day of the week, every week of the year, to more than 280 countries and places worldwide. It's never been easier to call the people you choose. Call MCI today and join Friends Around the World. It's the best way in the world to save.
Cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft. The cold one. For those who've discovered its smooth draft taste.
You know, I've been looking for that.
The world is a very cool place. So get out of the old and get into the cold.
Hi, Boomer Esiason here to tell you about some very special work being done on behalf of the NFL and ESPN. It's called the Watch Program. We're reaching out into communities to help people see the value of setting aside Sunday nights for football. Players from around the league are getting out the word to people just like you. And you know what? The program's working. Watch this Sunday night when Tampa Bay plays Detroit.
Welcome back to NFL Game Day. Count them. In the Cowboys-49ers game, there are 25 players who have once made the Pro Bowl. It's unbelievable. Near the head of the list, Dallas's Michael Irvin, who in last year's regular season game caught 12 against the Niners. Let's head back to the Bay and rejoin our Leslie Bishop. Leslie?
Thanks, Chris. As you know, the main reason the 49ers signed Deion Sanders was for this day, this matchup, primetime versus the playmaker. Well, for Michael Irvin, battling Sanders and beating the 49ers would be satisfaction in a season that's been agonizingly up and down.
Y'all think I'm playing with y'all or something?
Hey,
Dash back.
My whole thing was early in the season, if my car is running fine, I'm not taking it to the shop, you know, so let's not make any changes. Don't touch the car, you know, don't do anything.
You weren't first on his dance card when you came in. How has the year gone?
You know, I never viewed it that way, and I don't know if Michael ever viewed it that way. He was upset about some things personally, and his antics were not really pointed at me.
The best thing Barry did was come in and accept things as they are. You know, he said, I understand, and the things have been great right here, and I'm going to leave them great.
The 1994 season has been a series of adjustments for Michael Irvin. The first was the most difficult and poignant, becoming accustomed to Barry Switzer after all those years with Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy and I have been together a long time. And he took me as a young man right out of Fort Lauderdale, and I had just lost my father, and there's a lot of things that he taught me. And he's always been a strong figure in my life, and no matter what, I will always miss him.
Mike felt like, you know, it took a part of his life away, but, you know, at 1.4 or 5, you make a year, brought him back to reality.
His view of the real world is this. Facing free agency and coming off preseason shoulder surgery, Irvin felt the pressure to perform. He didn't catch his first touchdown pass until week 6, and not surprisingly, he wanted to see the ball more often.
Those kicks and coverage to me, and Alvin is killing him on the other side. I mean, this cat, I'm sitting like, man, will somebody get Alvin and let me play some football also?
He's probably going to be a free agent this offseason, and knowing he has to do his best, and he want to do his best because his competitive nature, you know, it's probably been frustrating for him.
Let's throw him into any coverage. Let's throw him. I'll go get it. I'll go get it. No matter what, I'll go get it.
Sometimes the ball's not coming to me as frequent as I would love it. And I love it, too, and I'm trying to be more patient with that and understand that, you know, I'm fortunate enough to have other guys on this team that can make great plays.
Showtime!
Do you see yourself, though, retiring as a Dallas Cowboy, or in this day and age, is that unlikely?
Well, I don't know, if, quite honestly, how much of a possibility it is with the way things are. The future's not promised to me. You know, I don't know. These people say, well, where will you be next year, and what's going to happen next year? I don't know. My next year may end Sunday.
That's not likely, but it's been a complicated week for the playmaker. His car was smashed by Alvin Harper, and he was fined for his role in the fight Monday night. Today, he'll focus on the 49ers, hoping to accomplish something his magnificent counterpart across the field can only imagine.
There are some things I can see that Jerry's accomplished that, quite honestly, I probably would never accomplish. But he hadn't got 3 in a row. And I can get 3 in a row. And if I get 3 in a row, I think he'll concede that he won't be winning 3 in a row. So it's just my get back, you know, my grasp at greatness. Jerry Rice, the NFL's all-time touchdown leader, Deion Sanders, the best cover man in the game, and Michael Irvin, hungry for a 3rd straight Super Bowl. Phil, as Michael Irvin said yesterday, not referring to you, there are giants on both sides of the ball. The stage is set.
You're right, Leslie. The stage is set, and you know what? You're lucky. You get to be there in person to watch the game. But Deion Sanders has had success against Michael Irvin. But Bernie Kosar was a quarterback and not Troy Aikman. When Troy Aikman's a quarterback, Michael Irvin does have good games. Let's take a look here why. As you'll see, Troy Aikman takes a 7-step drop, which a lot of teams in the NFL don't do anymore. Now as a defensive back, you've got to cover the receiver a little longer, and look at that throw down the field, the power throw. Very few quarterbacks in the league have the strength in the arm that Troy Aikman has, but what sets him apart from everybody else is not the strength of arm, but more the accuracy in which he throws the ball with.
Kind of like a young Phil Simms, right?
That's pretty close.
I tell you what, I spoke with Bud Carson, the Philadelphia defensive coordinator this week. He has had to prepare for both these teams this year already, and he says, though they attack differently, Dallas straight at you, San Francisco a little bit more of a finesse, they have all-pro players at all the skill positions. And what he thinks is the key to this game is if the Dallas defense, if their safeties get too aggressive, then Jerry Rice maybe the star of stars today, Chris.
Well, you talk about all pro players at all the positions. I wonder if this is the time they dust off Deion Sanders to return a kick, return a punt. We're waiting for that whisk broom right there.
Right.
This might be the time, Mort. Minnesota, more on this game later. Minnesota, winners of 4 straight, visit New England, losers of 4 straight. The vaunted Pats passing game, knowing that Minnesota scores touchdowns on defense, has gone into the tank. No touchdowns the last 2 games. Drew Bledsoe has thrown 11 picks in the 4 losses, giving him 18 for the season. But don't worry, though. The record for interceptions, 42. George Blanda, 1962 with the old AFL Oilers. 5-4 Chicago visits 7-2 Miami in their first regular season trip ever to Giuseppe Stadium, where Miami is an impressive 11-1 against NFC foes. We all remember the last Bears at Dolphins regular season game, 1985, Monday night at the Orange Bowl. Chicago's only loss that Super Bowl season. Don't know if this one will quite recapture that magic, but last weekend, this would have been the game of the day. Let's head out to Steve Seifert. Steve?
Chris, with Terry Kirby, Keith Byers, and Bernie Parmalee out, journeyman James Saxon and rookie Irving Spikes will start in the Dolphins' backfield. Cleveland Gary will rotate in, and while there have been a number of changes in terms of personnel, there will not be a change in the game plan. Don Shula remains committed to the running attack.
You have to have confidence in it offensively because if you don't give the running game a chance to work, it's not going to work. I think that Dan realizes how important the running game is to have some balance so that the pressure doesn't all fall on him.
There could be pressure to keep it on the ground with the forecast calling for increasing winds and rain as the day wears on. For the Bears, that's not good. Their run defense ranks last in the league. Last week, though, they threw a number of 8-man fronts against Tampa Bay and had good success blitzing against the Buccaneers. The Miami expects to see some of that today to test their inexperienced backs.
I've got to think that the Bears are going to come in and say, well, we're going to put so much heat on these guys and see if, in the short period of time they've had to prepare, if they're ready to know which backers they have to pick up. And if they do that, and if we can shut it down, and we've been working on it all week, and I believe we can, Marino and the boys back there are just awesome, and they can score some big plays.
Chicago injuries might make Marino's job easier. Their sack leader, Trace Armstrong, didn't make the trip with a hyperextended elbow, and cornerback Jeremy Lincoln is listed as questionable, meaning rookie James Burton gets his first start in the Bears secondary. I don't know, you think Marino might pick up on that? If the Bears do have a good luck charm, it's quarterback Steve Walsh. He's making his 5th start, looking for his 5th win, and he'll feel at home here. He played at the University of Miami. Chris?
All right, Steve, thank you. Dan Marino missed a couple of days of practice this week with a tender arm. Bernie Kosar got a lot of the reps. I mean, Marino does start today, and I expect him to go the route, but just keep that in mind when you watch the game. So, Tommy, for us to keep in mind with the running back injuries, you know, Richmond, Webb, and Sims, the tackle and guard, have made the Pro Bowl before, but really for their pass blocking. Now they may both go back as run blockers. They need to step up today again.
Yeah, it's important for that offensive line to step up because don't be deceived by that Chicago Bears 28th ranking in run defense. 85 yards of that Barry Sanders on one play, another 90 by Johnny Johnson on another play, and a 60-plus yard run all in the first half of the season. I talked to Gary Stevens, the offensive coordinator of the Dolphins. He said, you take away those runs, they're not great. He said, but they're certainly not as bad as those statistics would indicate.
Some of the guys we haven't seen that much for the Dolphins because they've been picking up along the way. Going to get a chance to carry the ball today behind Webb and Sims. We look for that. The 5-4 Jets at the 5-4 Packers. Another good game. Each has won 3 of their last 4. The tundra will not yet be frozen at Lambeau, but it could be wet. It will be dark later on in this game because it's a late kickoff. The Jets make their first visit to Lombardi Avenue since 1979. That was Walt Michaels, Bart Starr with the head coaches. Sterling Sharp will hope to bust loose in the secondary without cornerback Aaron Glenn today and probably without safety Ronnie Lott. Monday night, another good one, 5-4 Buffalo at 6-3 Pittsburgh in the same spot as last year when the Bills were manhandled 23-0. They expect rain at Three Rivers as Bill Cowher tries to go to 6-0 on Monday nights. Except for a couple of 1-1 starts, the Bills with a loss would be at 500 for the first time since 1987. Oh, by the way, that's the last year they missed the playoffs. Still to come, Pepper Johnson. He's no George Foreman, but he's looking to knock out Philly's light. Only if he can catch Randall Cunningham in a battle of 7-2 teams. That's coming up. And where did he come from? The Bengals' Jeff Blake continues to impress. Almost beat Dallas 2 weeks ago. Almost isn't good enough for Steve Young, who doesn't want to meet Charles Haley like this today. Stay with me.
chip that's got more ridginess. New Pringles Ridges, it's more crunch, yeah. If crunch is what you can't resist, a Pringles Ridge is more crunch than this. Crunch, yeah. Golden tasty, crunch is this. Not this bag chips, greasy mess. Crunch, crunch, yeah. New Pringles Ridges, it's more crunch, yeah. More crunch, yeah. Once you pop, Ridges, you can't stop.
NFL scores and details. Get them as they happen or whenever you want them from ESPN Net on Prodigy. Inside info, stats, transactions, scores, previews, reviews, all at the touch of a button. Call 1-800-ESPN-PRO to subscribe. Get connected with ESPN Net on Prodigy.
Hey, for those of you in New York, L.A., Miami, Denver, New Orleans, some other spots, Green Bay, can't see the Cowboys and Niners? Catch it all on Brad at 7 Eastern Time. And Sunday Night Football here on ESPN. Barry Sanders and the Lions against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's at 8 Eastern Time. Don't forget Prime Monday. Big game. Mike, Phil, Joe, and the gang. 7:30 Eastern Time tomorrow night. Bills and the Steelers. Up at 12:45 Eastern this afternoon, the Hooters 500 from Atlanta. We bust out to the final Winston Cup Series race of the year. Right around the corner. Busting back to some football. Barry Sanders. The quest for 2,000 yards continues tonight here on ESPN. The 49ers, Steve Young, once again facing a big game. Will he deliver? Nipping at the heels of the Cowboys and Niners, Randall Cunningham and a 7-2 Birds. Up next, Dave Brown from Duke. Good thing the basketball season has started. Change for the Giants at the helm.
The all-new Subaru Legacy. Its beauty is seen in this beautiful package. And in this beautiful package. Along with standard features like dual airbags and crumple zones, you get the active safety of anti-lock brakes, four-wheel disc brakes. Plus the ultimate safety feature, Subaru all-wheel drive. The Subaru Active Safety Package. It just might be the safest investment you ever make. The beauty of all-wheel drive.
Oh, no.
Insatiable.
Please, no.
There you are.
Why do they have to do that? That drives me to... No, thank you.
Hurricane.
Want a gift for her that doesn't smell? Try Radio Shack. We asked women from coast to coast what they thought was surprising, unusual, fun to get, so we can tell you. Just stop by your local Radio Shack. So, Radio Shack. You've got questions, we've got answers.
You jerk. I never want to see you again. Oh!
Savan, soft 100% cotton pants. They're the only pants made with Process 2000, so they don't wrinkle, which means you'll always come off looking good, no matter what you've done.
It could only come from here. Canada, the home of ice. Molson Ice. Ice brewed by North America's oldest brewery to be colder and bolder. Yet smooth as ice. Molson Ice. From the land where ice was born.
Welcome back to Game Day. Well, after 6 straight losses, the New York Giants turned to youngster Kent Graham to replace youngster Dave Brown at quarterback. At least the Giants know that they have beaten the Cards 10 straight at the Meadowlands, and they beat them 20-17 in Arizona in Week 2, but that's little solace now, that's for sure. This could have been the game that Phil Simms returned to the Meadowlands as a Card. Wouldn't that have been interesting to hear the fans? This one caught everybody by surprise, but when Cleveland visits Philly, it's a matchup of 7-2 teams. It's the Browns' first trip to the vet since that magical '79 year. That was Sam Rutigliano coaching against Dick Vermeil. The Browns have allowed a mere 111 points, the NFL low, and they're plus 82 points for, points against. Trails only Dallas and San Francisco. Mark Rippon starts again for the ailing Vinny Testaverde at quarterback. But Philly has some numbers of their own, like Randall Cunningham, 20-0 in his last 20 home regular season starts. Tom, this just in. That's pretty good.
Yeah, Randall's made the kind of comeback similar to the Republicans in the election on Tuesday. Randall Cunningham has been more effective in his return this season than most observers anticipated. He hasn't lost any of his speed and quickness, and he's matured enough to fill the Eagles' leadership role. Not bad for a player who thought his career was over last October.
You hear people cheering you being injured in the Jet Stadium. I was like, wow, man, these people are cheering that I'm injured.
Randall Cunningham had decided to retire. After breaking his left fibula against the Jets last October, Cunningham watched from the tunnel at the Meadowlands and thought he would never play again.
Eric Allen down the far sideline, steps over a man. He's going to go!
Eric Allen picked off the pass and ran it back to the end zone, and I was sitting in the end zone, and he handed me the ball, and he says, I love you, man. We're going to get this one for you. And tears came to my eyes, and I said, you know, regardless to what happens, I can't let my teammates down, you know, by me retiring. So I said, the retirement thing went out of my mind that quick.
Was there a sense of hesitancy, especially with your style, those first couple of weeks?
No, I think I might have been a little rusty the first couple of weeks, although the statistics would have never revealed it.
In the early part of this season, there was apprehension.
I just felt that I wasn't in sync as far as getting the plays in and everything.
He mentioned that he was somewhat afraid because of, you know, being injured in the past.
He was leery. He was very cautious.
We were still scoring points, but I didn't feel like me. And people said, oh, he's scared to run, and I kind of laughed at it.
When Randall didn't address the media the week prior to playing the Cardinals, there was talk that he was running scared about facing former coach Buddy Ryan, about confronting former teammates Seth Joyner and Clyde Simmons, about the rumor of a bounty being placed on his head.
Well, as you saw out there, he was very scared.
Just happened to be the first play I came out and ran the ball for like 20-something yards or something like that. And it was kind of crazy because Buddy Ryan's the one that told me to do things like that.
Right from the beginning, he had an opportunity to run, and I think he was sending a message, say, hey, look, now, you got something to deal with right here.
It was like the Randall that was 5 years ago when he scrambled out to the right, and it was as if to say, hey, buddy, I'm back to where I used to be.
People say, oh, Randall's back, he's back. No, Randall's been back the whole time. It's just that I happened to run the ball a little bit more that game.
Randall's return to a leadership role on this Eagles team has been praised by teammates and coaches. But Cunningham insists that his voice is no greater than any other.
Look, I need a little help with the leadership, you know. Help me out. Herschel, Eric Allen, Byron Evans. This is our team now. It's not Randall's team. This is our team. And the maturity factor kicked in throughout our whole team, and I think that's part of the reason why we're playing so well right now.
It's difficult to look at an injury as being beneficial, but in the case of Randall Cunningham, the injuries were so severe that he thought his career might be over. When he came back, I think it gave him a greater appreciation for the game. The reason that he's out there now is because he loves football.
I think the Browns are taking advantage of Vinny Testaverde's injury today, Tom. They want to start Mark Rippon. Remember, he has prepared for the Philadelphia Eagles many times as an ex-Redskin quarterback, and his position coach is Rod Dowher, ex-Redskin assistant, all the ex-Giants on the coaching staff of the Browns. It smells like an NFC East game, Chris.
Well, you know what? You talk about an ex, and the guy you talked about earlier in the show. It's not his first revenge game, but don't you think today, Mort, that Bud Carson, defensive coordinator extraordinaire of the Philadelphia Eagles, he would love to beat his old team. He was head coach of Cleveland, unceremoniously dumped after just 2 years there, one of which you took him to a title game. He's looking at this one, trust me. At the other end of the spectrum, 1-8 Houston, 1-8 Cincy. The loser didn't even get the first draft pick. Remember, Carolina and Jacksonville picked 1 and 2. Cincy is actually favored for the first time since December '92. They won that game against the Patriots, but the 7 times they were favored before that, all losses. But there's hope, as in Jeff Blake, who in his second career start was named AFC Player of the Week last week. The overtime win against Seattle, Blake and the Bengals on a 1-game winning streak. Back we go to the Cowboys at the 49ers. Charles Haley having perhaps his best season at defensive end for Dallas after he excelled earlier in his career for San Francisco. He could win his 5th Super Bowl ring before the Niners win theirs. Charles in charge. Looks back at his different head coaches.
I have to give Bill Walsh a lot of respect. I really enjoyed playing for Bill Walsh. I really did. He was very methodical. Everybody knew where he stood. George Seifert, man, he was a great, great defensive coordinator. Everything that I know about defensive football and learning, I learned from George Seifert. As a head coach, I just think that he never let his identity show. He tried to be like Bill or be like somebody else. and he never did let his identity show, and that was sad. Jimmy, he was more of a dictator type of coach. He kept players on his thumb the whole time. In this game, you want guys to grow and learn, and with him having total control, these guys never learn what it will be like to have respect and have them do things and be accountable for it. So that's one of the things that I think that he didn't really try to help guys grow. Barry Switzer, he's caring. He has all the positive things and none of the negative things. He's not a dictator. He doesn't scream and yell at players. He said, I'm a really nice guy. I'm going to work with you. I'm going to see it from every angle. I'm not going to just take point A or point B. I'm going to see it from every angle, and if you need my help, I'm there for you. And I respect him for that.
Haley will work against Steve Wallace in a battle of titans in an effort to get to Steve Young, who is on target to win his 4th straight passing title in the NFL. Young is on a roll that the Niners hope will take him right through the Cowboys and start removing that very large gorilla off his back. He's in position for his biggest win ever, but a month ago, didn't really look that way. Third quarter of the 40-8 Philadelphia blowout. George Seifert said no mas, even though his quarterback was already in the huddle calling a play. Steve Young has always been excitable, but this time he became emotional.
I think I looked at it as the yank, where he looked at it like, hey, you're getting killed and I can't put up with this anymore. I'm doing it to save you.
I protected him physically, but maybe not as much as I might have from an emotional standpoint, which is something I have to be conscious of also. I think all coaches do.
I probably overreacted to, hey, we're not playing well. Don't single me out. You know what I mean? Screw it. I don't want to deal with that.
The next week, Young struggled at practice and missed his first 3 passes against Detroit. But then something happened. He kicked into serious overdrive and hasn't stopped. 69 of his last 89, 841 yards, 7 TDs, and only 1 interception. Those in the know say they've never seen him better.
My explosion in my mind was, hey, look, this isn't us. This isn't me. And this cannot be even tolerated or even, let's run away from this thing that stinks so bad as fast as we possibly can.
Steve is just being himself now. He doesn't feel any pressure.
He is more vocal and more emotional during and on the sideline. He relieves himself of some of the tension that he may have pent up inside himself before.
The players got confidence in him, and he doesn't have to prove anything to anybody.
Now here comes another big game. He's done everything but win them.
I don't want to give the impression that, or even give myself the impression that I'm streaky, because to me, it's a consistency that I really want to achieve.
Well, having been out there all week, Joe, I don't think I have any question that Steve Young is going to have a big-time game today. But you know what a game like this can mean to Steve Young, don't you?
Well, I do, Boomer. As a matter of fact, this probably is the biggest game in Steve Young's career. And I say that because all the previous games that the 49ers have lost to the Cowboys, Steve Young has had to shoulder the responsibility of fumbling the football, making bad decisions. I still think that he is the key to this football game. Yeah, Emmitt Smith is there, and Michael Irvin, and Jerry Rice, and Ricky Waters. But when you boil this game down, if the 49ers are going to win, they're going to have to win with Steve Young doing what he does best. Not turning the football over and running with the football. But more importantly, when he does run, he's going to have to protect it. He's got to play a smart, solid football game. And I believe the 49ers can beat the Cowboys.
All right, Joe, thanks. I know you'll be watching that game, and we'll see you tonight from the Silverdome. Well, Young knows that San Francisco must score early. In the 2 title games, Mort, they only led in 92 7-3, and in the 93 game, they never led at all. So an early start for the Niners is imperative. Not only, though, the skill position guys will decide this, huh?
No, I really think that Haley-Steve Wallace matchup is the biggest in this game. When the Chiefs beat the 49ers early in the season, they noticed that Steve Young was more left-handed than the average right-handed quarterback is right-handed. So getting in Steve Young's face with Charles Haley is critical, Phil, today.
Yeah, I think the key is inside. Dana Stubblefield and Bryant Young must stop the inside running of the Cowboys. Troy Aikman dropping back, hand it to Emmitt Smith on a fake pass to draw play, running behind Nate Newton with Moose Johnson leading the way. They run this play every single week. They've got to stop it.
Well, we talk so much about offense and defense. Inevitably, it may come down to special teams. Kevin Williams and Dexter Carter, respectively, for their teams, trying to hit the home run. Whoever can do that, probably that team will win the game.
You know, it's out of this game, big game, maybe best of teams in football, 2 rookie kickers. Bonial for Dallas, Bryan for San Francisco. We'll see if either one of them gets a little bit nervous. From the Niners and the Cowboys to the Buccaneers. What a trip. But be known that the Bucs own a 17-16 record against tonight's foe, Detroit, including a win at the Big Sombrero this season, and they're 29-68-1 against the rest of the NFC North. You explained it. The Clockwork Orange will have to deal with Dave Craig at quarterback. Scott Mitchell is out for the year, and as we said on primetime last week, no disrespect meant. But right now, David Craig gives him a better chance to win than Scott Mitchell does. He looks very Eric Hipple-like. They also do, the Buccaneers, have to deal with the NFL's leading rusher. Will they remember Barry Sanders at 166 yards in that very first game?
Best back ever? Maybe.
I think I used kind of a variety of different moves. There's a shoulder fake. I think a hip fake, too. I think there's a spin.
He probably have the best balance of anyone I've ever seen in my life.
And he's got such a quick start and stop and then start again.
It's like a ballerina.
It's a nervous thing, it's tension. I've literally had cramps in my side from tension where you flex your muscles. Like you got, no, that's all right. We got him down.
When you're playing against them, you kind of get lulled into, you know, the fan syndrome where you just kind of watch him and, man, look at that move he made. Look at that spin, look at that.
Pleasure it is to watch Barry Sanders. You can do it tonight live at 8 Eastern Time. The Lions and Sanders at the Silverdome against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In a couple of minutes, the Hooters 500 coming up from Atlanta, the NASCAR season ender. But a word or two. Biggest game and biggest day of the season, week 11.
If you're looking for a reliable place to service your car or truck, I've got great news for you. It's a Pep Boys Automotive Super Center. No matter what you drive, their ASC certified technicians are here when you need them, day or night, even on Sunday. For Rebestus brakes, TRW rack and pinion repair, diagnostic tune-ups, even air conditioning. For dealer quality service at prices you can afford, come to Pep Boys and drive away happy.
Fasten your seatbelts.
Because 94 Fleer Ultra Football has more goals, more photos, and more incredible inserts featuring superstars and hot rookies. There's one insert card in every pack. Fleer Ultra, better than ever.
Cold sufferers, if your pill's so good, how come it doesn't work 24 hours? Efferdac 24 does. Other pills last 6 hours or 12, but one Efferdac relieves 24 hours. Efferdac keeps cold symptoms from coming back.
Do you know how much sprinkles you got? More from this can than you thought. Fill the bowl from a Pringles can. Got as much as this bag. Amazing, man. Can you believe how much sprinkles you got? So pop, the Pringles don't stop. Get the great taste you want, not the greasy mess this bag got. Pringles, once you pop, so much more than you ever thought. You can't stop.
Won't you be part of the watch program?
Ooh, infrared. That's how hot the games are today. Tommy, what are you looking at?
Chargers Chiefs talked about the Chiefs' problems on third down in the nickel package. Look for them to use some run-oriented blitzes inside in the gaps to try to shut down Natron Means.
The big game today, San Francisco. If they want to win, Steve Young is going to have a great day throwing, but also look for him to make some big runs.
Well, look for Deion Sanders to make a big play today, Phil. But I tell you what, I think Alvin Harper is a lot healthier than the Cowboys have let on. And I see him having a big play today too, Chris.
Well, we'll find that out early. William Floyd, the rookie fullback of the 49ers, blocking, carrying the football, going out for passes. He told me he wants to get our game ball on NFL primetime. He's more excited than beating the Cowboys, and we'll see if he gets one tonight on NFL primetime. Dallas and San Francisco, San Diego and Kansas City, all the great games today, 7 Eastern time tonight. For Tom and Phil and Mort, and Joe and Leslie and Andrea and a cast of thousands, I'm Chris Berman. Thanks for watching. Don't forget our game tonight at 8. And now let's go to Bob Jenkins.